Hello, my name is Andrew Baker from AJB Holsters, and in this video I'm going to do a follow-up on the Stan Onnex Hinge. I apologize for taking so long to put out a new video. The last 2 months have been the busiest of my life between working, running events, helping other people run events, etc., that making videos just wasn't in the cards. If I could give advice to anyone who is on the grind, as the kids are calling it these days, it is to make sure that you step back from it occasionally and make time for yourself and for your loved ones. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself out and it just won't be fun anymore. So at this point, it was, well, a few months ago, I received a letter from Stan regarding the click hooks for the Onnex Hinge. The first run of Onnex Hinges only came with a smooth hook because the click hooks hadn't actually been made yet. So they asked that anyone who wanted them to email Stan with your contact information, or your mailing address actually, so they can send them to us when they were actually finished. So I don't know if that was a cost-saving measure, because that way they could save the money of not having to include them for anyone of you who doesn't want them, and then but then there's the extra work for people who actually do need them, and then the delays and whatnot. But so I sent that in, I emailed it in, I also checked the status once or twice just to see what was going on and where I was in the line. And instead of that, after being strung along a little, instead we got a letter with this piece of cut paper that says, with the new hinge moon design, we were not satisfied in the clicks, function, and feel. There are also typos in here which drive me crazy. So we have made multiple revisions to the moon and click to meet our company's standards. For the click to work, we will need to change out the moon on your hinge, and with the return of your release, we will include the clicker hook installed. This change will not affect the smooth hook in any way. It should be any way. That's 2 words, not 1. We are sorry for the inconvenience of this and the time that it has taken to get this resolved. We only want the best performing products in the field, which has been the reason for the delay. There will be no shipping cost to you. Please email your name, address, email address, and phone number, and I will send you a shipping label. My email address is shipping@stanoutdoors.com. Once again, we are very sorry for the delay. Thanks in advance for your patience. So that was kind of annoying. So I ended up dragging my feet with that for a little while, because it was kind of like, well, on the one hand, I didn't want to be without my releases, and on the other hand, I had kind of moved on to shooting other things because, well, I'm currently swimming in releases, but not everybody has that problem. So I finally contacted them and sent my shipping info, and they promptly sent me a UPS shipping label. I mailed them on Thursday, and according to the tracking number, they received them on Monday. I received them back the following Thursday with the new click hooks installed, my old hooks, and 2 new trainer pins to add to my collection. I think I also got an extra one of the draw control screws because I had it taken out already. So to their credit, they did hustle to get these back to me, which is nice, since I got my first one in April and haven't been able to use it effectively since I can't shoot a no-click hinge to save my life. Target panic is a bastard. So as a bit of an aside, somebody on Archery Talk, shout out to you, Shooter Mike, messaged me asking if I had mine done yet, since he sent his in, and when he got them back, the click was so close to the fire that it was basically useless. I figured he'd received one of the ones that were originally sent out as a drop-in for the hinges that customers already had, but he said his was sent in to Stan to do the full moon replacement. So I was worried about what I was going to get back, and only sent my 2 larges, since those are the only ones I'll be using myself. I also have a medium and an XL for holster making purposes, and I haven't sent those in yet. So now for what everyone really wants to know. How did they come back, and how did they feel? Well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. One of the hooks is normal, and is loud enough to work the way it's supposed to. It's on my sage green, so loud enough, relatively close to the fire, but usable. The second hook works, but it's a lot quieter than the first, and for lack of a better description, it clunks more than it clicks. So So it's a lot more subdued. You can still hear it, but there's definitely a difference in the depth that they machined all the hooks. So I don't know if it's that they rushed them out or their tolerances are out of whack. They did start offering click hooks of different speeds, specifically slow and fast, on the website for purchase, though everything on the website is currently listed as out of stock and has been for some time. So I plan on picking up one of each at least to see how they perform. I don't know which one they actually sent it out with, and I didn't see anything on it to indicate. I know they have dimples on some of them too, but they didn't actually give us any indication of which one's which. One thing that isn't on the website, though, is the sizing guide. So right now, I'm the only game in town when it comes to an online sizing guide, which the link will be down in the description. The old I Shoot a Stand website is still up, but the Onnex is not represented in the sizing guide or anywhere else on the website. So what in the seven hells is going on with this company? Anywho. So at the moment, I have 5 Onnex hinges. 2 of them have the upgraded sear, they're my largest, and 3 are from the original run. So out of curiosity, I'm going to take out the good click off of my, the good click is in this one. I'm going to take it out and install it on one of the hinges that I have from the original run with the original sears just to see what would happen. I'm going to do it on camera to show that they did actually make it rather easy to swap the hooks in and out, so I'm going to switch over to my tabletop view in order to do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to swap out your click hooks, or as they call them, the hasps. I don't know why. That's a carryover from the Morex line. I'm not entirely sure why they called them that either. Are we going to focus? It's not focusing. Okay, I'm just going to do it myself. Alright, so you're going to take this bolt out right here, then you're going to push this pin out from that way to that way. You're going to lift this hook out, replace the hook, push the pin back in, and rescrew that, that bolt. So we're going to loosen that up and take it out. I apologize for the state of my hands in this video. I was doing deadlifts yesterday, and I haven't been up on my moisturizer, or keeping up with my moisturizer. So you take that bolt out, that holds this pin in place. You're going to press the pin out using the same sized key as you unscrewed this bolt. So sometimes this hook will fly out, or it'll pop out. This is not one of the releases that you have to disassemble in a plastic bag to keep any springs from flying into the wild blue yonder. This one actually has a nice touch stand machined out the head of the release to capture this spring, so it's actually not going to come out. So you're going to lift the hook out from in between this part of the hook that contacts the sear, fits underneath that little spring piece that I'm moving right there. So that goes, the hook goes under that, and then that's what returns the spring, or returns the hook to the ready position. So you get your other spring out. This is the click hook, so I'm actually going to put it in this one here, which is the medium that I didn't send back to Stan. So we're going to take the hook out of that one. We're going to put the updated click hook into this, and then we're going to see what it feels like, or if it actually functions. That way, if you didn't send them back, you'll know that you can purchase the hooks and then not have to worry about it. I already know the answer because this is like my 4th take. So that one pops out on its own for some reason, so that can stay over there for now. That's a smooth hook. I'm never going to use it. So I'm going to put the click hook back in. You need to get that this part of the hook underneath the leg of the spring that connects the 2 sides together. You're going to need to push down a little bit to line up the holes to push this pin back in, which is never easy when done on camera. So you pretty much need to press that down a little bit to line them up. Get this hook in, or get that pin in to get it started, and then just kind of wiggle it around until it seats. Press it to fully seat, then replace the bolt. The button head screw, rather, on the side of the release, or side of the release head. And you screw that back in place. Okay, now that that's fully seated, let's see what it feels like. Like I said, this is the older Sear design, and it was not sent in to Stan. So let's have a feel. So it does work, but that click is very close to the fire. Yeah, there's the click, there's the fire. So if you want a fast click, I'm going to go ahead and say that it's probably a good idea that if you have one of the older runs and you want to get a click hook, you probably should send it to Stan instead of just buying it off the website. I mean, you're going to get it for free anyway because it was supposed to come with this in the first place. But it's kind of unfortunate that it's a good product and it's not cheap, but we still have to go to extra lengths to make sure that we get the product that we actually paid for, or we get something that we can use and that we actually paid for. I think Stan didn't roll this out as well as they could have. They are trying or doing the work to make sure that they're fixing it, you know, and not losing any customers. I know there are some people that are disappointed that they have to send the things back in, and they're not real crazy about Stan's customer service. I haven't had any issues with them yet, but like I said, it's kind of unfortunate that not only do we have to wait to get these things, those of us who use a click hook and can't use the other ones, but that we kind of got strung along and then had to do additional work to get the product that we wanted to use. And I'm thankful that that I finally have this stuff. Kind of sucks that I had to wait from April until had to wait months for it, but now that I have it, I am happy with it. So I'll just kind of leave it at that and get back to the rest of my script. So continuing on regarding quirks, or more accurately unique features of the Stan Onnex Hinge, the draw lock, one of the things that I learned about it is the draw lock will keep the hook from resetting, but you can rotate through the click with the draw lock still engaged. So if you're drawing along, you can actually have your hand in a position where it'll click. Say I have it down right now, it'll click, it'll keep the hook from going off, but you can still pull right through your click. So you really do have to still have your hand in a position where you're not going to engage the sear mechanism with the hook. So not a major problem, but it does it's something to think about. I wasn't able to, when I was shooting this, I wasn't able to replicate the release trigger thing. I could do it here, but when I actually have the bow drawn, it's not as easy to reproduce that release trigger thing where you get your hand in a position where it's getting ready to fire and then just release it. So for some reason it's easier to do when you're sitting at your desk, but not so much when you're actually at full draw. So that's a plus. Something else worth mentioning regarding the draw lock. I mentioned in my ad nauseum video that the screw that locks down the draw lock doesn't actually have anything to keep it from walking out if it isn't fully tightened down and the draw lock isn't disengaged. Well, apparently it also has the potential to walk itself in as well, because a few targets into the 3D course I was shooting, the draw lock actually stopped working because the screw actually tightened itself down and disabled the draw lock on its own. So that kind of further reinforces my suggestion to just remove the screw entirely if you're going to use the draw lock function. Now, as for how the Onnex Hinge actually feels and functions, it's actually pretty good. The point of impact is the same as my Onnex thumb out to around 30 yards, as long as I'm doing my part. Out further, I have to make sure that I'm executing the shots the same as each other. In other words, I have to shoot the thumb like a hinge. The anchor point is identical as well, because of course it is, because the handles are exactly the same and the hook positions are exactly the same. Adjustments of the speed of the hinge is easy since you can see the end of the screw that sits under the moon and the sear. I'll talk about that, or I probably should have shown that in the previous video, or the previous segment. To make the hinge hotter, you turn the screw in, and it requires less rotation for the screw to come in contact with the sear and push it up, which causes it to seesaw out of the way of the hook and release the hook. So, make it tighter, it gets hotter, make it, back it out and it gets colder. It also has the benefit of the sweep adjustable finger extension. This allows you to further adjust the angles of the handle and the draw. Setting it straight makes it more aggressive and gives you more leverage, or your other fingers more leverage. And then sweeping it back makes it less aggressive, so you more have to pull through the shot than kind of, using your fingers. Really depends on how you like to set up or execute your shot. So in terms of shot execution, for what it's worth, it really feels very similar the way I execute the shot. It feels the same as any other of my other hinges. It's a bit chunkier in the handle than other hinges. Typically, for whatever reason, hinges have a tendency to be thinner. I guess because you put most of your draw force in your index and thumb, unless you do draw it evenly. But the thicker handle does make it very comfortable to draw this hinge. One thing about it that's worth noting, because I'm going to compare it to the UltraView button in a few, or not the button, but the UltraView Hinge 2.0. I'm going to compare those two shortly, and whether you should go with one or the other. UltraView's hinges have the way that they're set up, they're meant to be really easy to draw, but in doing so, it makes it so that you kind of have to learn how to use them. Like, they have a really, like, even if you're used to using a hinge, it's kind of tricky. This is the large one, but these releases, because of the geometry of their head, drawing with it is very easy, but executing the shot means that you already have to have even finger pressure across all your fingers. Otherwise, you're going to pull forever, and then this head is never going to lift. With regards to the Onnex Hinge, on the other hand, you can set this up to the way that you like to use a hinge. So you can set it up to the way that you like to execute, as opposed to having to learn how to use it. So I'd have to say that has a leg up. This hinge has a leg up. If you're already used to doing it a certain way, you can just set this up to do it that way. The UltraView hinges are not that way. You kind of have to learn and commit to using those, and then risk punching yourself in the face later if you go back to using a different one. So out of all the releases that I have, I'm going to be sticking with, this is one of my go-to hinges, and I have one of my bows set up for the Onnex Hinge and thumb, and I have another bow set up specifically for the UV button and the UltraView Hinge 2.0. Those two pairs seem to be the two sets of releases that have been fully designed to be interchangeable. Others are close, like they get them, like they say that they're supposed to be able to run together, like the TrueFire Synapse and Sear. But if you look at them, they're actually designed very differently, and you wouldn't know unless they said so, or just look at, because they're the same brand. There aren't a whole lot that are fully committed to being, or the companies rather went out of their way to make them as close as possible. Though the Stan and the UltraView kind of designed them from two different directions, and I think I'm going to close out on this thought. Another something that I didn't think of before and didn't think to add to my script is the difference between, I have two, like I said, I have a Stan Onnex Hinge in large, in brass and aluminum. In terms of how they feel between each other at full draw, which is where it really matters, I really can't feel that much of a difference. The brass is a little bit smoother and a little bit slicker. In terms of like feedback when you release the hook, I can't tell a lick of difference. Maybe because my arms I don't have the same flexibility based on muscle mass or whatever. But I really can't tell a lick of difference where it really matters between these two. This one's more fun to fidget with. So I think I'll close out on this. I haven't fully fleshed this idea out, so it might seem clunky. I think if you're on the fence between the UltraView Hinge / UltraView UV button combo and the Stan Onnex Thumb and Stan Onnex Hinge combo, this might be something to consider. When the Onnex Hinge was designed, the Stan Perfects was already on the market. So when Stan designed the Onnex, they designed the thumb / resistance and the hinge with the sensibility of a thumb release. Everybody, or rather everyone who shot the Perfects who also used the hinge, wanted a hinge to pair with the Perfects. So that design was taken into account when they designed the Onnex Hinge. On the other side of the aisle, UltraView came out with the hinge first, and their fans wanted a thumb release to pair with the hinge. So the UltraView button is designed with the sensibilities of the Hinge 2.0, or rather hinges in general, because that's what came out first. The hinge came out first. So if you want a hinge that feels like a thumb release, go with the Stan Onnex thumb and hinge. If you want your thumb release to feel like your hinge, then go with the UltraViews. So it comes down to which one are you going to use more, and do you want your secondary release to feel like that. So like if you use your hinge more and you want to be able to use your thumb, do you want the thumb to feel more like a hinge versus your hinge feeling more like a thumb? So in the meantime, I'm just going to keep using both. Like I said, hopefully with my previous comment, I don't end up punching myself in the face the first time I try to use this after I use the UltraView, but I'll figure it out. So that's about it. If you like what I'm doing, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And until next time, take care, stay safe, and happy hunting. Oops. So for what it's worth, in terms of shot execution with the Onnex Hinge, for me anyway, feels the same